And I really believe that there are so few horse trainers that have made horses famous. But there's a whole bunch of horses that have made horse trainers famous. You know,
You're right.
I'm sitting here because I've sat on some talented horses that made me look cool.
Right.
Like, that's really the truth, right? And I firmly believe that when God created that animal and it fell out and hit the ground, it already had all the talent that it was going to have in it. My job was to not screw it up. Like,
I like
my
that.
job is to not get on that thing and be like, oh, I'm somebody. Watch me make this a cool horse. That was that horse already. Whatever level of talent it has 10 talents or 2 talents, or you know, maybe it's got one and it's in a hole and you kick the dirt over it. But, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
that, to me, that's really, really helped me mentally and emotionally almost become a little detached from it. Like, it's not
Right.
about, I have to do this and I have to make.
Right.
I want to be the best person I can be.
Yeah.
But that horse had the level of ability in him when it hit the ground, and I'm not going to change that.
It's almost like you just want to cultivate it so that it can show up fully.
Totally.
It's and stay out of the
Absolutely.
way in the process.
Yeah.
Like, not get in its way, but just let it be all that it can be.
Yeah.
That's really
yeah,
cool.
100%. You know,
Almost
most
similar to raising children, right? Like
very similar to I would say it's there's no different. My wife would
Right.
sit here and would say that all of my analogies, like the barn analogies come in the house and the house analogies go in the barn. Like, I would say it's
both
exactly
ways.
the truth.
It goes all over.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. I have another question for you. How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for a later success?
That's all I've done so far is failed. You know,
Okay.
like fail and fail and fail again. You know, next time fail a little better.
Right.
why you're so good.
Yeah, you just keep. I mean, I think when you learn that that's what it is,
Yeah.
for me, it's really relaxing. I'm like, well, I'm never going to be good at this anyway, so I may as well just enjoy it. You know, like, that's
real,
really like
though.
when you mess with your head like that.
Yeah.
You say, I'm never going to be like, I'm never going to get anywhere with this. I'm never going to get somewhere and be like, I've arrived.
Right.
You're never going to do this. So why
Yeah.
are you trying to rush so fast through this and arrive somewhere you can't get to?
Yeah.
So I fail all the time. I will tell you,
Mm-hmm.
there's 2 things you can do at the horse show. You can win or you can learn. And I'm
That's
really
good.
tired of learning. I'm really tired of learning. Sometimes you drive home and you think, how much more do I have to learn? Like, I'd just like to win a buckle.
It's a lot of
Isn't
learning
it like
going
in the
on.
most unsuspecting times when you maybe do pull out the win and you just kind of went, well, okay, there it is.
I would say that winning's a byproduct of being good.
I like
So,
that.
you know, you fail and fail and fail. People phone me, young people phone me all the time or message me on Instagram. You know, that's something that's really blown up in the last year, and it's crazy. But I get so many questions all the time. You know, how do I get into horse training? Or how do I go from where I'm at to where I'd like to be? How did you
Yeah.
get to where you are?
Sure.
And I would say the coolest thing that I can advise anyone on is to find someone who will allow you to make as many mistakes as quickly as possible. Because that is how you learn.
Yeah.
It's all data collection. You do it and you go, that didn't work. I've learned the best from the mistakes made by the people who've taken my advice. You think about that for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Here. Okay, turn. Go faster. No, kick on him. Oh, remind me when we get that horse home. I better not kick on him. That doesn't look like it worked. You know, like,
And being an astute
it's-
observer,
it's
it sounds
the
like,
truth.
is an
You know,
important
you
part of it.
fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, and then you go, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And I'm trying to help you, and that doesn't work with you either. So you say, well, that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
And you don't have a program until you've done it 10 or 15 years. If you
Right.
say, oh, my program this, my program that, you're way too arrogant yet. You need to be humbled more. You don't have a program.
Yeah.
It always changes. Whatever your program is this year will be different next year.
It's almost like you just got to share your process and know that that's always in flux. That's
Totally.
not going to look the same next year.
Be humble.
And you hope that it won't actually. You kind of hope that your whole process is going to continue to grow and potentially evolve as you do. But
Yeah.
it's good. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one's kind of interesting. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions, what would it say and why? It could be a few words or a paragraph. Could be a quote.
Just some words to live by.
That's really interesting. That is an interesting one. I like one billboard. That's a good one. I'd have to think. I'm thinking about that one.
We can come back to it if you like.
No, it's good. Like, sometimes you got to sit quiet and think about stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
it's
true.
cool to talk about it, but sometimes you just got to think. Like, what would you? What
And it
would
could
you,
be about life. It could be
Yeah.
pertaining to horses.
Yeah, you know, I mean, interestingly enough, I would probably say you're not that important. You know,
Explain
I think
that a little bit.
most of our problems come from us thinking that we're something in this situation, and it didn't go the way that we thought it should go based on who we think we are.
Sure, yeah.
Ooh,
I totally
I
see
like that.
Right? Like, you think about that for a second. Like, China is after us, and TikTok needs to be banned, and all of these other political things. Well, I told my dad, like, he's not cool enough for TikTok to be worried about what he's doing for dinner or breakfast. Like, it doesn't matter.
You're
you know,
not
like,
that important.
it's not that important. Live your life, you know, do the right thing. It's true.
Yeah.
It is.
I wish it wasn't true, but we had a talk about this, and he said, "Oh, the media is running our lives." And then it wasn't until a week or two later that he realized that the magnifying glass on your YouTube app was for searching. So the algorithm was just feeding him whatever showed up on the page, and he watched whatever.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
so this sort of thing happens, and we can really get hung up on I should be here, I should be this, or I should be that. Your worth is immeasurable.
Yeah.
But importance, what's importance?
Ooh,
Like, I think
I
I'm
like that.
important.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Somebody else thinks you aren't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you repeat that, Jim, what you just said?
Your worth is really deep. Is that what you wanted? Your worth is like infinite. Like, I don't care who you are, you're worth an unbelievable amount. But what is importance? Like,
Yeah.
I think I should be this. So then I think I should be treated like I think.
Right. Yeah.
I like
That changes. So as weird as that would be, how would you go by on a billboard and say you're not that important? That would change the entire
Right.
world.
Right.
Because our whole culture is you are you, and you need to do you, and you need to, like, it's so self-centered.
Right.
Yep.
I would say
Yeah.
what you do is worth a lot, and who you are is worth a lot.
Yeah.
But you're not that important.
Right.
There's a lot of cool people in the world. There's a lot of cool horses in the world. There's a lot of cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
I hope that you're happy,
Yeah.
but I hope you're not satisfied. You know, like for sure,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
That's cool. Well, and I think it's a really interesting component of when our value is pretty closely tied to our achievements or our accomplishments, it tends to be a rocky ride. There's just so many factors, you can't control it, and it almost feels like whitewater rafting. Like, what are we going to get hit with next? But there's a stability when it's like, I want to strive for excellence, for sure. I want to do well, but that worth comes from something different. There's a different type of stability there.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I love the journey, and I love what I'm challenging myself to do.
Yeah.
But I'm just a horse trainer.
Right.
Like, if I quit doing this, somebody else will do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm not that important.
Makes me think of, there's this authenticity mantra from Brene Brown's an author I like a lot, and she's like, don't puff up, but don't shrink down. Stand your sacred ground. And I think sometimes we puff up a little, and that, like, trying to, and what I hear in the, you're not that important, it's not to necessarily, like, knock someone down to say you're not valuable,
Not
but
at
it's
all.
like, you're you. Like, you don't need to overinflate, and you don't need to hide. Like,
No.
when you show up as you are, that's the good stuff right there. That's pretty cool.
I feel like that also breeds a very humble and also collaborative type of feel.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I definitely feel that from you. Like, actually, Jim hauled Kylie and I's horses to the expo for us.
Yeah.
And I asked him, because the horses had to be stabled at his place, what I would owe him for stabling. And he was like, no, like, that's all good. Like, we're all in this together, and you know, we're all professionals trying to do this. And I just really appreciate that sort of more collaborative. Like, even though I think you're a big deal and I'm really not, but you very much treat people in a way that is, just that everybody has, like you said, worth and value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you don't act important, and that probably contributes to you continuing to learn and grow. And
I dream about it. Like, I love learning. My favorite thing is to not have the answer to the question, you know? Like, my favorite thing, I learned something here. What am I going to put on a billboard? I'm like, that's probably what I would do. I don't know if I'd thought about it like that in that way before, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I love learning something new, and if you know it already, then it's no fun anymore.
right.
So I'm kind of curious. This is kind of going off script a little here, but I think sometimes people when they're asked a question and they don't know the answer, they get a little, the anxiety comes for them.
Sure.
You know, there's uncertainty there. But for you, you just said, I love when I don't know the answer. That's an opportunity to learn. Was there ever a time when it wasn't like that for you? Like where you did feel that maybe nervousness come for you, and how did you make that shift?
I can, there's always crossroads in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to a point, and I would say for sure there's a couple in my life that I can point out for sure where you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But you feel you know the answer, or you're in a position where you feel like I shouldn't have the answer, or I'm not cool enough to have the answer,
Yeah.
or I'm not important enough to have the answer.
Yep.
And I think that genuine. So I was riding a colt. Back to that Michigan story. It was in Michigan. I was riding a colt. I ride in about 6 weeks, and I don't know anything. You know, I've been riding horses for a little while, and I've always been riding under someone. This is like legitimately the first time that I had gone out from under Gordon Sandy's place in Fort McLeod, and this is the first time I'm riding for someone else. And so I just, like exactly like my reining clinic today, I'm steering this thing around, and after 6 weeks into snaffles, neck craning around, loping circles, and, you know, I'm just, you know, having fun.
Yeah.
And the owner there says, I got to phone this guy. He's got to come and watch you ride this thing. Like, he's a reining trainer from here. He's got to come and see you do this. So this gentleman walks in who's way bigger than me and way cooler than me and, you know, 20 years older than me. And he watches me ride around, doesn't say a word. You know, after 15 minutes of me riding, he comes over and, like, I hand him the reins. He's going to ride it. And he goes, why in the world are you riding that thing one-handed? And I could have said, oh, I didn't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an answer for that at that split moment. But I was quiet for a second, very similar to your billboard question. Just be quiet for a second and think through, why do I do this? Why do I do this? And give the most honest answer. And I looked at that gentleman, and that was a crossroads in my life, because I looked at him, and he's way cooler than me and way more experienced. And I said, it's a reining horse. Don't you want it to go one-handed soon? It didn't go really bridled up. It didn't do all kinds of fancy stuff. But reining is a steering competition. If you can't steer it around, what good is it? And you want it to go one-handed. So if you ride it two-handed for too long, it gets so used to being ridden two-handed that you go one-handed, you have all kinds of problems. So I thought, well, let's start out really bad one-handed, and we'll just be terrible at this till it gets better. And that was really my theory on it. And I believed that theory. And when he questioned me on it, I could have curled up and thought I'm not worth anything and this doesn't matter and I don't know the answer to this and I don't know, and I could have looked at him.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he looked back at me, he goes, well, you got a point.
Huh.
And at that moment, I thought, I can do this myself.
Cool.
I could go out on my own. I could do this myself. I can
Right.
look at these guys on the same level. We're all the same. No one's more important than the other. We're all worth what we're worth. And that was a crossroads where I didn't have the answer, but not having the answer and being willing to just be patient with it and go, give an honest, what do you feel now?
Yeah, I'm really struck by that story where you didn't hide in that moment of uncertainty. Like sometimes I think I've known times when sometimes I've been asked questions or put on the spot, and sometimes in a way of trying to buy time, I'll kind of just filibuster a little. Like I just kind of like fill the word, kind of like talk out loud, and sometimes it would be just a little bit more authentic and honest, and probably gain more trust would just to say, like, take your pause, take your second, and then give your honest answer.
Yeah.
There's something to that, and I wonder how that might translate to horsemanship too. Like when you can, if you in a moment with a horse where you're not sure, and you know, you could try to BS your way through something or push your way through or bully your way through something.
Oh yeah.
But to pause and how they respond differently when you can just bring your honest best try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever have experiences like that with the horses?
I think that's exactly how you train horses, you know?
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend forever that I know what I'm doing or how to do it.
Sure.
But I would say anytime you get stuck, like, just stop.
Yeah.
So the horse doesn't know what the end game is.
Sure.
Right? So this whole idea, you have to win, you know, you got to win today. You can't let him lose. He doesn't know that you want to win a trophy next year.
Yeah.
He doesn't care either.
No.
So you know what? Like, as long as you back off and go like, this isn't going good. I got to think this through. Mm-hmm. And if you can reverse engineer what you're trying to do into what you do every single day to get what you're trying to do. Right. You know, just stop. If it's going bad, stop. Stop moving. Yeah. Stop ripping and pulling. Stop riding. Stop over talking about it and thinking about it and going on and on and on about. Just sit there with that horse for a second and be like, I need him to turn right.
Yeah.
How am I going to make him turn right? Because right now when I try to turn right, he stands on his hind legs. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
stop, pause, take that deep breath, think, okay, like we
Yeah.
got to go back, because they're not thinking, oh, I won one and you lost one. They're not
Right.
keeping track.
No.
They're just trying to have a good life.
You know, it reminds me of, there's this quote that says, it's by Viktor Frankl, is a guy that wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, all
Okay.
about how do we find meaning in life. And he has this quote that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the power to choose your response. And in that choice lies your growth and your freedom.
I would agree with that. I don't know
yeah.
the author and I don't
Yeah.
know that quote, but I
But
would say
I'm
that is
just-
how I live my life.
And I think sometimes, like when, like I was hearing as you're describing, like that quote just came to mind, and it's
Yeah.
funny when people in different, whether it's in horses or different levels, and he had a lot of, he's a pretty smart dude, published a lot of stuff, but
Cool.
it's cool when these themes come up in multiple places, totally unrelated, that you
Yes.
kind of want to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
There's something there, there's a resonance or a truth there that seems like it's important to pay attention to.
I think
Yeah.
it's all super simple. It all runs in the same vein. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, you know, nothing. I
Right.
didn't invent horse training, and I didn't invent doing it slow and being careful either, you know, like somebody else was doing the same thing another day, you know, and
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I think you're totally right. Between putting the pressure on and getting the response,
Yeah.
that's where you collect your data on, like, what are we going to get here, you
Yeah.
know, and you've got to be quiet enough to pick that up and realize what it is. And when you do,
Yeah.
the horse goes, hey, like that, he seems to pick it up, you know,
Yeah.
like, and that's that back and forth response. And that horse develops into a really cool animal because they get the sense that you're picking up what they're putting down and vice versa.
Totally.
You know?
I also feel like what I'm gathering from you is that you've gotten comfortable with discomfort. Would you say that's one of your keys to success?
I don't own a comfort zone. I don't have a clue
That's what
what
I
that
thought you
is.
would say.
I've never been comfortable in my life. You can ask my wife. She'd back that up any day. Like, she says, can you just stop? Like, can we ever just relax and be like, okay here? I said, I don't know, but we're okay here. Like, I'm,
Right.
Comfortable with the discomfort.
yeah,
or
I
you've
may
gotten
be
there.
nervous to be comfortable. I mean, I'm afraid to get soft, you know? I mean, that sort of drive, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but
Yeah.
that intensity, yeah, I'm very seldom comfortable. I'm super comfortable, sit here and tell stories all day.
Sure.
But
But even that could be very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Like even how you sat for a moment just to
Yeah.
collect your thoughts. For a lot
Yeah.
of people, that silence, especially on a stage
Yeah.
Sure.
with people watching, would be
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. But do you think that you had to train yourself to be comfortable with that? Like how do
I
you
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a process. I think everything you do, again, every time you do something, every clinic you teach, every lesson you teach, every person you hang out with, you also get data collection from that. You know, and
Yeah.
all of this feedback, if you're aware and you pay attention to this, people tell you how you treated them. People tell you what works and what doesn't work. I think we're so used to noise, you know, that we're afraid of sitting quietly for a second, you know? Like
that's so
the
good.
natural response was like, oh, let's go on to something else. Let's do something while we work on that.
Right.
That's really important. If we're going to put one thing on a billboard, like, we'll probably think about that for a second, you know? Like, you know, and it's the same with training, like the same with the horses, the same with this whole industry is, you know, like just, I don't mind to be tough. I can ride a horse. I don't care if it leaps in the air, tries to bronk me off or whatever. Like I don't mind to ride one. I'm not soft by any means in the soft sense of backing away or not approaching an object or an obstacle. But you got to be smooth when you're strong, you know, like, you know,
you got to be
like-
smooth when you're strong. Tell me more about that. That's an interesting phrase.
well, there's only two things in horse training. The horse needs to know where to go from the pressure you put on him.
Yep.
But then secondly, he needs to know you're always going to give him enough time to go there. That's everything in horse training. I have not yet found something that doesn't fit under those two categories.
Interesting. Yeah.
When the colt has no clue,
Yep.
every time you pull on him, when you saddle him up, when you ride him around, the first time you bump your legs on him, the first time you do anything on that colt,
Yeah.
if he doesn't know anything, these are pressures.
Yeah.
Now, the responsibility is like, okay, do you know what pressure you're putting on the horse? Or do you not know what pressure you're putting on the horse? Because then how do you think you're ever going to get the response you're looking for if you don't even know the pressures you put on the horse?
Yeah.
Or
Right.
why?
Or why? Or, you know, like, when do I quit?
What is
if,
your outcome? right?
Exactly. If you don't know what your outcome is or you're not sure of what the outcome should be,
Yeah.
how do you know when to give up on that horse too? How do you know when to say, this is good? Well, I don't know what's good. I'm not even sure what I'm after. You know, so you have to get present. You have to get clear on who you are and what you are, and you have to get clear on all of that sort of thing
Yeah.
so that yeah, so it stays under those two categories like all the time, you know. It's and so I think it's what I'm trying to say.
Well,
You know, it's go ahead.
Well, one thing that struck me is you were kind of saying the two pieces, and the second piece being you got to give them time to get there.
Yeah.
That strikes me because I think sometimes for riders like yourself or big competitors, people are used to seeing you, doing the big stops,
Sure.
doing the stuff. That's kind of what they tend to expect from you. But I wonder if people don't always get to see like how much you care for the horses, how much you want them to do well, to give them good chances, to be fair to them. Tell us a bit about that. What's your heart for them?
Yeah, you know, if you're not going to give that horse enough time to do his job, it's like people, you know, if you don't know your job, it's really hard for you to be successful at it.
Yes.
And you're not happy, you know, it's like, man, I would work for this guy, but I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to do for him.
Right.
You know, and then if you do know your job and you're really good, but the trainer walks in every day and starts to run his mouth at you and swear at you and curse at you, and you're like, dude, I started at 5:30 this morning and it takes 4 hours and it's 8:30 in the morning. I can't get the stalls finished any quicker than, like, if he doesn't give you enough time to do your job, then you're also like, you shut down, you quit, you walk out, you just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So when you jerk a horse, you take the slack out of that rein so fast, he couldn't get it right if he wanted to get it right.
Right.
Right? Like, even if he says, I know what to do when that rein starts moving, he can't even compute that fast enough to move his feet. There's no time to do it.
Totally.
So they start to get super nervous. They start to get fractious.
Yeah.
And yes, you ride on them. Yes, they're Olympic level athletes. Sure, they sweat at my place. Sure, we work the hair off them. Sure, they, you know, you don't go to the gym and sign up for the gym and then be like, oh, I'm so glad I haven't sweat in 4 weeks.
That's not
That was
getting your
easy.
money's worth.
You know, like,
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed every minute of that. No, you didn't enjoy every minute of that. It was hard. Sometimes you had to do it again and you're like, I can't do it.
Right.
But then you rest and then you recover and then you do it again. So, yes, the hot walker, the way that my barn is set up, the whole program is based on creating the best mentally and physically happy horse. Because if I'm going to back my system up, and if I'm going to back up my entire career and my reputation on taking animals down the road and competing on them at a level wherever, you know, here in Red Deer or in Prince George or in Scottsdale or in Tulsa or wherever you go, that horse has to be physically and mentally prepared to give me everything he's got. And if it's like a bank account. You know, you got to put money in the bank at home so that when you go to the horse show, you can hopefully take some money out of the bank. But if you take the money out of the bank at home all the time and you go and go and go and you see the big stops and you run and stop huge and you go like crazy, you get to the horse show and you're overdrawn. You think, shoot, I got no money left in the bank when you get to the horse show. And so you got to put it in at home. You have to cold hose those legs and theraplate them and put them on the hot walker 2 days a week and let him walk it off and don't school on him every day and go gallop him in the field. And, you know, to create a really good show horse, he has to be at least somewhat comfortable in his life.
Right.
You can't force it into him.
Would you say that's kind of like the principle of training at like 110% so that when you go to the show and there's all those added pressures, the new environment, that you're still going to get the best?
Yeah, that horse has to be comfortable at 110%, but you have to build that up over the same as you'd build any athlete. That's a 6, 9 month, 2 year process, you know, building that horse up to the point where he is truly comfortable at 110%, where you can go to a horse show and you're like, if I get 90 or if I get 80 out of him today, it's going to be pretty good. You know, like absolutely. If you train just to go to 80 or 90% at home and you always are under that, and then you go to the horse show, you'll get 60% and you'll be confused why in the world what happened, you know? Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think we're almost close for
We're out of
time, but we have
Trust me on that one.
we got a little wiggle room. So, but I do.
They only got the VIP meet and greet later, right?
Yeah.
We can sit here. They can do that.
Yeah. Exactly. These are the comfy chairs. I did have this question specifically. I was curious to ask you. What is an unusual habit or an absurd or strange thing that you love?
Oh, boy. Well, I got a lot of strange things in my life. I'm kind of weird.
Or surprising, like something that like most people.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many
probably
people
wouldn't
know that I sang in pro opera.
That. Yes.
Like, I've been paid to sing opera.
Yes.
That might be a little strange to some people.
I know. I found that out through a family friend, which was just such a wild experience. But I was like, no way.
In 2014, I sang Mozart's Magic Flute. Yeah.
Where?
And in Chilliwack, and I was the priest. And so I had like the hardest aria in the whole deal, and it's a whole recit.
Yeah.
And you're arguing with the main character, and it's in 2 different keys, and the orchestra only plays the chords in between the singing. So you do this a cappella. And it was an open audition. That's a funny story. It was funny you asked that.
Yes.
It was an open audition, and I saw it on Facebook, and I thought, well, that'd be fun. It's another one of these, like, how bad could I be at that? That'd be cool. So I legit signed up for this, and I went, like, really at lunchtime down to wherever the rehearsal studio was, and I was really in boots and spurs, just like this. And this is the honest truth. This is really the story, Alicia.
Okay, like opera singing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You might have to prove it later.
I
No.
can maybe pull up the video. Like, I have video of it. And
But Jim, do you, like, is this something you did in the past?
I sang for the last time last Saturday.
You what? Sorry.
How did he sang recently? Like it was last
I
Saturday.
sing all the time. I do sing all the time.
But like opera singing, was that
That was
something
2014.
But did you do that growing up?
I always sang. I've sung in concerts. I've sung in
Okay.
cathedrals all over North
Wow.
America. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have sung as a kid. I did sing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something that, a horse trainer sitting up here, you probably
Yeah.
didn't think.
No.
But okay, so you walk into this audition with your boots and spurs on. What happens next?
There's a lady behind a keyboard in the studio, and she says, do you ride horses? And I looked her straight in the eye, and I said, no, I work at Safeway. Why did you ask? Like, really,
you did.
really, truly. That's exactly how it went. And she says, get over here. What are you going to sing?
Yeah.
And I sang, and she says, you know what? I think we can work with this. And I was really an open audition off the street. I was not
No
supposed
way.
to be paid for this.
Wow.
And she said, if you want to do private lessons every morning at 6 a.m., I would work with you from 6 until 7:30. And between here and the production, I'll see if I can catch you up on this. And it was the most fun I'd ever had. I'd never been so scared. But it really helped me, speaking of out of your comfort zone,
Right.
Yeah.
I was just
it really
thinking,
helped
here
me.
we
So
go.
you're sitting in a studio, in a rehearsal studio. So I would sing from 6 till 7:30 every morning. I would train and ride and do lessons. And then by 3:30 in the afternoon, I had to be back in the studio, and we rehearsed like 4 days a week for 10 weeks, something like
Wow.
that. And you've never been so petrified in your life when you're like the weird guy. And these are like professional singers from Vienna and Toronto and Boston. And like they'd flown in from all over the place. It
Wow.
was actually, I learned afterwards, it was a big production. And
Kind of a big deal.
Maybe you wouldn't have gone if you had known, but well,
right,
that
that's
wouldn't
the
be a
truth.
good story. So
just
there
go
we
and
go.
do it. And I realized at that point 2 things. One, professionals are bad at stuff anyway. Like they didn't sing on key all the time. You sat around in a rehearsal studio and they're like, oh shoot, man, yeah, I missed that line again. Can we do that again? And I'm like, these guys do this for a living and they're
Right.
terrible.
Wow.
Guess they're still
Now,
human.
but here's the deal. You can be terrible. It's the rehearsal
Right.
studio. Who cares
Right.
if you're terrible?
That's the space
where
for
you're
it.
terrible.
That's where you
when you're at
clean it
home
up.
riding your horse, be terrible. Don't try to hold it together at home so you go to the horse show and find out you're terrible.
Oh, that's
Right.
good.
Like just rehearse. Just ride
Yeah.
the thing around.
Practice,
if it's bad today,
experiment.
practice it again. Ride
Yeah.
again. Don't worry about it. Don't think, oh man, I'm so bad.
Right.
Because then they come around the rehearsal studio and they're like, okay, Jim, it's your turn to sing. You think, no, I think I'm good.
Right. If I
You
can't
know-
do it perfect, I don't want to do it. Which,
Yeah, and you get that feeling, man, these
yeah.
are all professionals. They're all watching me. They
Right.
didn't care. We had so much fun. I stood up, sang bad too. And then it got better. And then it
Right.
got better.
Yeah.
And then we had a blast. And then you walk
Yeah.
out on stage and the lights come on and then you think, okay, this is actually exactly the same as showing horses.
Yep.
You rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse. And when you
Yeah.
go out there and the lights come on, for me, that stage here, the lights on, on a performance stage, the lights at center, when you get to the middle at the horse show, that's the most peaceful place in my life.
Really? Why is
There's no
that?
credit
Tell me more
card to
about.
pay.
Oh,
The
yeah.
phone's not going to ring.
Yep.
You don't have any children at the moment. Nobody needs their diaper changed. You don't have any customers that need anything.
Yeah.
There's no other horses in your life. There's you and that horse, and there's only the pattern that you've practiced for. And when you get to the middle and you put your hand down and it gets quiet, don't start too fast, because that's the quietest place in your life. Like, be patient. Enjoy that. Like when you
like
get to,
that.
you run in at the NRH for charity and you back up to center and you put your hand down and you think, I wish I could do this for like 15 minutes. Like, I got 4.5 minutes to do my pattern pretty well. It's the average, and that sucks because then I got to go back to cleaning stalls and riding the other ones and working on the other stuff. The
Right.
stress goes away if you've practiced and practiced and practiced. When you walk out on stage, you just have to perform.
Yeah.
And that's the easy part.
Yeah. Something you said there really just struck me, that idea that like the world gets a little quiet and like
yeah.
you take that time because it's like some of the sweetest moments. But it's interesting that it could be missed, or someone could think that's like a seemingly insignificant moment. But a lot of times when you chat with folks who've been through a lot or they get on later in life and then you ask, like, what were the sweet moments when you look back? A lot of times it's not necessarily the big mountaintops, the big accolades. It's those small, seemingly insignificant moments that that you want back or that matter the most. And so that's kind of interesting to me, knowing all the things you've done, the way you describe that moment, like there was something in it that I'm like, that seems like
it would
sweet
be
stuff for you.
It would be a huge moment. I ran in. It was a run-in pattern. I ran in. I stopped. I backed up to center, and I stopped there. And then I thought, the air smells different in here. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's a weird smell, you know? And then I turned around, and the horse hooked up, and I loped off on my first circle, and I thought, he's with me. Like, I'm going to be able to show this horse today. And I've had some struggles with this one. That's not an easy horse, you know?
Yeah.
And he hooked up, and he felt right with me. And I remember when he hooked up on that large, fast circle, and if you watch the video back, I'm running on the circle at the NRHA Futurity, which is the pinnacle of my sport. You know, it's like as far as you can go in North America, going showing horses. And it's a big deal, and I was super grateful to have a horse to be there. And I remember coming around on the circle, and he was so hooked up, and I was having so much fun, and it was so quiet that I thought, they have cool plants under the judges' chairs. Like, I remember this. I remember the plants. They were like these cool green ferns, and they were under those big judges' chairs. And I thought, those are kind of cool plants. Oh, we should have some of them at home.
Wow.
You know what? You're describing something to me, and I don't know if I'm just going to put this together on the fly, that it's like you're so present-minded and so mindful of the present moment that it really is like you're thinking like a horse.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's how they think.
Yeah.
Like, they think things like that. And when they're confident, they're not thinking like, oh my goodness, that plant's going to eat me. But they take it, you know, if they're built up to the point where they feel confident enough in their own skin, that's probably how they're thinking most of the time. They're so present.
Yeah. Yes, and if you create a horse into that, if you build that confidence, the competence comes after that. And when you build them in, if you think how much you enjoy that place in your life, you have to imagine that you and I doing this as professionals for these horses, if we can create horses that are comfortable and confident in whatever job it is, I don't care what area of the horse industry you use horses in, if you put that horse in the best possible situation to have the best life possible, I think that's the most ethical way to do any of this. And to your point, how good does that feel when you're really, truly present and you're like, my life's pretty good right now?
Yeah.
That's what that
Best
horse
feeling
wants.
in the world.
That's the only thing that horse wants. Like, his life's pretty good. Whatever it is I got to do, it's okay. It's pretty good.
And have room to think, right? Like that you've been clear.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think when we're grateful for those really small moments, it actually, this is a little bit of a spoiler, we're talking a little bit more about on prepare for the worst, but expect the best tomorrow. And it's interesting when people start expecting the worst too often, the antidote is slowing down and getting really grateful about the little moments. It's like, it's almost like if I'm worried about what's going to go wrong, and this happens in the show ring, what if my horse does this? What if my horse does that? If you can pause for a moment and you can just go, I'm so thankful I'm at this show.
Yeah.
I'm on a horse that is, you know, we might do it, we might not, who knows? But like this moment, we're here. This is good. And to lean into the gratitude of that, it takes away a lot of that worst case thinking. So that's cool. You're already rocking it in that front. Got that locked in.
Know. I got plenty of demons. That's probably why I had to figure it out, because I had to get through all the
School of Hard Knocks is
pretty
big
I don't
diploma
have
on the
nothing
wall.
figured out.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, to wrap things up, I just had one more question, Jim.
Yeah.
I understand that Canada is going to lose you pretty soon to Scottsdale, Arizona.
I haven't actually done that publicly anywhere, but that is the truth.
I'm terribly sorry if
no.
Spoiler alert.
No, everybody knows.
Okay,
Trust me.
okay,
I just haven't actually announced it anywhere, but yes, that's not a rumor. That is the truth.
Okay.
The plan is to relocate to Scottsdale.
And what's next for Jim Greendyk in Scottsdale?
Well, you know, it follows in this conversation. I feel like I need to go learn more.
Okay.
You know, so I was just at Cactus Classic, and I was running up and down, showed in their run for $1 million qualifier. Never had so much fun in my life. That's probably the next career highlight for me, like showing that horse at the Futurity and then being at Westworld there and like, man, I had fun. I didn't even mark that good, but that was the most fun I'd had in a long time, you know, and I thought, I got to do more of this.
Yeah.
We've talked about it for a long time. I'm a U.S. citizen. Sometimes I struggle because I always have to have the answers. You know, you get to a place in your life where you are always the person with the answers. You are always the person giving out.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that I'm by any means at the top or at the best or going to be like, I got to challenge myself again. I don't really see it that way at all, as much as I see it like I was jogging around in the warm-up and I asked Andrea Fapani, who lives around the corner there, if I could come sit on the fence at his place and ask questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start over. 20 years ago, I was
Right.
sitting on a mounting block and I was a stall cleaner, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move there. I'm going to start over, and I'm going to sit on the fence at Andrea's place, or I'm going to sit by Marco Ricotta, or a number of these friends who I am friends with, and they're very good people. And Andrea said, kind of in his Italian accent, "Yeah, you'll come by anytime. It's no problem."
Awesome.
So that is what's for me. I mean, business-wise, I need to own the facility I'm working out of. I'm a U.S. citizen.
There's a lot of opportunity there.
There's a lot of
and
opportunity there.
Space for growth.
Yeah, the masterclass, that reigningmasterclass.com is really, really cool, and it's been super fun.
Just
But
tell
I-
us a little bit about that.
What is that for any folks who don't know what it is?
sorry. The reigningmasterclass.com is an entire horsemanship reining-based program that I put together. It's me. We did slow motion and drone footage and rewind, and it's like you're watching an entire replay of a sports team, or where it pauses and they circle a guy and say, "You're here, but you should be here," and this and that, and it's like really cool. And I poured my heart and soul into it because it was the only thing that I could scale. You can ride so many horses and you can teach so many lessons and do so many clinics and sit here and have a lot of fun. But if you can create something that gets to more people and gets out further, then you can scale that, where I could sell 2 today or I could sell 200 today. It wouldn't change anything. We would still sit here and tell stories. And that is the only thing that a horse trainer really has, because when I quit riding horses, people quit sending me horses.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing in this industry. That's a reality that we all have to be up against.
Yeah. Right.
So we started focusing on the Instagram as a way to get out, and then it became, let's build this masterclass because we're doing it anyway. And then we built it into a full, more than 20 hours of HD footage.
That's awesome.
When you buy it, you get an app that comes with it. All those photos, all those videos come up. We have a Reining Masterclass Facebook page and a group and a group message deal, and we do Zoom classes to get everybody in. Once a month, everybody gets to hang out with me on Zoom and do
Nice.
fun stuff. And it's just invest in yourself and invest in your horse and invest in exactly the concepts we're talking about. And it's not that complicated. It's just got to be done consistently with from point A to point B. And there's so many people in the world that can't get close to that kind of horsemanship. They're not able to haul somewhere or be with a trainer. They can't afford $1,500 a month to be in a barn somewhere where someone will help them like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the reality of the horses.
Right.
And so that's really where that came out of. And so all of that growth and all that change in the last year, I'm really grateful for. I mean, I don't think it's changed me any. I mean, it's just, I don't really care much about Instagram fame at all. It's just a tool for me to get what I say and what I do out to more people.
Well, and one thing I find quite distinct, every time I step on the yard at your place, at your barn, there's always this sense of community. There's something about people like being there, like they like coming together, talking, having a good time. There's something about doing it together that really there's a resonance at your barn that's quite cool. And
Thank
so
you.
to be able to
Thank
extend that community feel, that like come alongside, get access to some great supports and some great resources, and make that more accessible through an online platform is really cool.
If you're not comfortable to make mistakes, it's hard to learn. So just get here and get comfortable. Like you're part of the family. I mean, sure, you're going to run against the wall, or sure, the thing's going to leap up, or sure, you're going to kick out in the lead.
Yeah.
I'm also going to do that next month too, probably. I'll probably have one kick out in the lead change next horse show we go to too. So I'm no different than you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And so, I mean, I appreciate you say that. I'm probably also abrasive enough that I only keep the people around that can take it. There's probably a little of that. You only see the people that are like, well, we got to be nice around here. Others give us a hard time.
Yeah, there's a very cool vibe.
But we have a lot of fun. Shoot, man, we laugh and joke all day. Sometimes it's about like, how bad can you ride? Because that's how the horses get better. If we ride perfect every day, it doesn't actually get better.
That's fantastic.
It's not what you think it is. It's all just fun.
Oh, so good. Well, I think we have to wrap it there.
Yeah,
I know we
you
could
bet.
probably keep going, but thank you so much, Jim, for showing up and sharing.
Just one more thing, Jim. Where can people find out more about you or your master class?
You can go to reigningmasterclass.com. Actually, for the expo here, we have reigningmasterclass.com/expo. And if you purchase it here at the show, I have live exclusive Q&A at my place later at my booth. So if you purchase it here at the show, in the website there, you can click one of the remaining times for tomorrow or for Sunday.
Wow.
Jim Greendyk horses.com. I mean, you can find me at Jim Greendyk Horses for
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all those places.
Great.
Okay.
And I talk to everybody. Like if I comment on Instagram, if my page comments on Instagram, that's me talking to you. I do all that
Awesome.
myself.
That's awesome.
You know, which
Very
is what
cool.
I love doing.
Yeah.
I really
It's
love it.
personal for you.
So,
Love
yeah,
that.
it is. For me, it's the value. You know, even when it gets bigger and gets
Yeah.
more, I mean, I've put people in place to say the things that I need to do are talking to the people and the horses
Yeah.
personally. Everything else somebody else can do.
Yep.
You know,
Awesome.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
So good.
Hey, and thank you, girls. This is a blast. Like, I love
Yeah.
doing this, and thank you
Glad.
too for being here and having me on. Like, I appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's
welcome.
great to sit here. I was hoping Kylie was going to let me lay on the couch and she's just going to counsel me, but
Look out.
yeah.
Yeah, do we want to whip out the
Okay,
real questions?
you guys
What's
are
the
awesome.
secret-
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Oh, you bet.